Hi, I'm Phillips. Welcome to my top trade secrets. In this video, I'm going to show you how to glaze this beautiful round cast iron window using 3C's Paintable Glazing Putty. I started off by removing all of the rust using a 4-inch grinder. Then I sealed both sides with a finishing coat, hung it up and spray painted both sides 2 coats. Now I'm not going to be using glass. I've already pre-cut pieces of plastic perspex. So I'm going to start by popping this into my silicone gun and then trimming the end. Now I'm going to place the end of the nozzle just in the edge of the window frame there and start to put a very thin bed of that right the way around. Now this doesn't have to be very thick, just about 2-3 millimeters. Once that's in, you can take your piece of perspex, place that down, nice and gentle, pressing it all the way across, putting an equal amount of pressure, and you'll start to see the putty starting to ooze out a little bit on the other side. We can turn this over and trim that off in a short while. But the main thing is to just get it in position like this. Once you're happy with that, you do the same on the next couple. If this was one large window, of course, you would then apply the putty on the back side, shape all that up, and then lift it up and cut it away the other side. Or if it was in position in a window, of course, you just go both sides to do it. But I'm going to bed my pieces of perspex in first before I shape up the back. Comes out of the reservoir really easy, nice and smooth, a lot easier than the old-fashioned traditional way of puttying. Glazing putty is robust and resilient to many weathering extremes such as frost, driving rain, as well as sunlight and high UV light, making it an ideal choice to use for bedding and sealing both sides of your window frame. Now what I really love about this glazing putty is it has great grab qualities. So it allows you to work on huge panes of glass or small pieces of perspex just like this. So now each piece of glazing is bedded into position. I'm going to apply more putty around the outside face of it there and start to shaping it up, and then once that's in, it'll help hold the piece of glass into position or perspex. Then I can turn it over and trim off the other side. Remember, if you're doing this and it was in position, you could just simply walk both sides and do it, but I'm going to keep turning it back and forth. Once that's applied, I'm just going to make sure the end of my scraper is clean and start to shape that at that position. I'm going to do that by just pressing the end, pushing it in around like that. Very like you would normally with traditional putty. With a mastic joint sealing like consistency, 3C's glazing putty guns out smoothly and exhibits great tool ability to a smooth shape to a finish on joint. It has a skinning over time of around 14 minutes and a full cure time of approximately 1 day for 3mm and 4 days for 6mm. Drying times may vary depending on the conditions and the weather. Once dry, it'll be solid and flexible, so it won't shrink or crack. So now all the glazing putty is applied that side, I've started to smooth the edges off. It's not completely finished yet. I've got to trim a little bit of it up once it starts to go off, but I'm now going to turn my attention to the opposite side and start to trim off these little bits around here, because that's now oozed out all the way around the edges, and all I want to do is trim that nice and tight and make sure that there is no cavities in there. Once you've scraped off the excessive putty from each panel, you can then just get yourself a damp cloth very gently, because of course you don't want to push that out, it's not dry on the other side, and you can just wipe them up. You can see it's really gripped and filled those gaps in there. And remember, this is paintable, so we will be touching the paintwork up once it's completely cured and be painting over the putty at the same time. So now my putty has had a couple of days to dry. I'm going to take my scraper and just start to scrape off the little tiny edges of excessive putty that's not required. You can also get 3C's silicone wipes and just wipe the glass really tight up to where the putty meets it, and it can even help smoothen the edge off that little bit. Once it's completely dry, get a light piece of sandpaper, just like a 150-200 grade, and give it a gentle tickle over in preparation for painting. One final wipe to remove all the dust with your silicone wipe. Now there are two ways, of course, you can paint over your putty now it's dry. You could cut it in by hand using a small paintbrush if you've got a real good steady hand, or you could even just mask up the edges to help you cut it in that little bit neater. But for me, I'm going to be spray painting mine. It's a little bit quicker, so I'm going to mask over the whole area of the glazing to protect it before I use my paint sprayer. Now the masking is complete, all I need to do now is repaint it using my paint spray. After I'd sealed my frame, I originally spray painted it with Frenchique's Alfresco chalk paint. I give it a couple of coats first. Now the putty's dry, I'm going to give it 2 further coats of the same Alfresco paint. So I'm going to leave that to dry for at least a couple of hours and then apply a second coat. So that's the glazing now complete in my round cast iron window using 3C's Paintable Glazing Putty. Now if you're looking for more inspiration or how-to videos, follow us on all social media handles and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to know more about the products, just check out their website.